Hey, y'all, come on in. Come on in, find a seat. Buddy's told me he's got 2 hours worth of material. So, no, it's all tonight. He's going to get it all in 45 minutes. Yeah. Okay, for our guests, and we have several, we're so thankful that you could be here tonight. My name is Edwin Crozier. I work with the congregation here. We're glad that you could be here. We'd love for you to come back anytime you have opportunity. You have shown up while we're in the middle of what we call our special session at the end of our Bible classes. We've invited all of our teen classes and all of our adult classes to meet together here in the auditorium for some special lessons. Some of our own men are presenting lessons on wise stewardship. Tonight, one of our brothers, Buddy Huntley, is going to be presenting the lesson for us this evening. And I actually realized that Andrew shouldn't have left this with me because I forgot to look at what the title of your lesson is, buddy. What's your title? Money and Marriage. Ooh. Y'all ready for this? So that's what tonight's going to be, money and marriage. Oh, it's on the flyer. I know, I don't have the flyer, and he's got his computer turned off, so I can't even see it. So money and marriage tonight. Buddy Huntley's going to present that to us. So just as a reminder, this is our class period. The small classes are still meeting, and so there will be a bell at 10 minutes after 8, and if you need to go pick up a young child at one of the classes at that time, feel free, but the rest of us will just keep sitting here for about 5 more minutes, and so the second bell will be at 8:15. Then we'll take a brief break, and we'll have an assembly for everybody to come together, and we'll sing a few songs and have some words, some announcements and notes from one of our elders. So we're excited to get started tonight. Steve Ladd is going to kick us off with a prayer, and then we're going to hand this microphone over to Buddy so that we can learn about money and marriage.
Lord God Almighty,
All right, now we will see if this is all working. Oop. Click, click. Nope. Maybe not. Oop, there's an on switch. There it is. All right. Pardon that. Believe it or not, I work in technology, and I missed that. It's so good to be with you all here tonight. I know, Matt, I lied. I do have a presentation. I wasn't planning this initially, but then I got carried away, I suppose. It's an honor to be able to speak in front of you all this evening. My family and I have only been with this congregation for about 9 months or so. We moved down in November, and we were just so thankful for the welcome that we received so quickly. We were really brought in, made to feel like part of the family here and part of the body. And it's made the whole transition of moving a family of 6, down the coast so much easier. So I really, really appreciate that. And again, I was looking forward to this for quite a while. This is a topic I'm kind of passionate about. So a little bit about me, if you don't know me. I do not have a financial background like some of the other speakers here. So I'm not quote-unquote qualified in that sense that, he works with money or he was educated in money. No, I was not. I work with computers. I'm a computer programmer, so I spend my days staring at a computer and typing in a keyboard trying to get bits and bytes to behave. But I am married, so that helps. So I've been married for about 19 years to my lovely wife, Cheryl. I'm sure most of you or a lot of you have met her. So that box is ticked. I guess what I would say that makes me somewhat qualified in any sense to talk about this is just that, again, since we've been married for 19 years or so now, we've made a lot of mistakes and we've learned a lot, right? So I guess I'm qualified from the school of hard knocks, right? I've been through a lot of these different things I'm about to talk about this evening, and some bigger mistakes, some smaller mistakes, but I think that we've really come out of it more on top, and as we're a stronger couple now that we've tackled these things. So, money and marriage, like Edmund said, this is a fun one. It can get kind of controversial and contentious depending on your views of certain things, and I may hit on a couple of those things. I'm not trying to annoy people or frustrate people, but it's important because money has a big impact on our marriages, as we'll see. What's interesting to start out with is I think money and marriage are two things that our society does very poorly. We're not good with money. We're really not good with marriage. Some statistics to kind of get us started. Hope you can read those. I can from here. But if not, I'll be speaking about. So, bankruptcies. Bankruptcy rates are increasing year over year. People are taking upon more debt and expenses than they can handle. They can't outpace them. That is likely, as it notes there, exacerbated by inflation and a recession, which also kind of points to the fact that our government is also not very good with money, but that may be one of the most obvious statements ever spoken. Total U.S. household debt hit a record of $16.9 trillion at the beginning of 2022. That's $16.9 trillion with a T. And I like to put that in perspective by saying that's 16.9 million. So count to a million and do that 16.9 million times, and you get an idea of how much debt that is. It's astronomically high. Most of that, again, is mortgages, but credit card debt has been increasing at record levels, as are delinquencies. Not good. There's a quote in one of these articles that I found that said, balances are up, rates are up, and more people are carrying credit card debt. The median savings account in the U.S. balance is just over $5,000. And less than half of all U.S. households said that they're able to cover an unexpected $1,000 expense. It's the beginning of last year. So where does that usually come from? Well, credit cards. You borrow. You go somewhere into debt. 58% of adults reported being uneasy with their level of emergency savings. More than half don't feel like they have enough to cover emergencies. And only slightly more than half of U.S. adults have more emergency savings than they do credit card debt. So again, if everything comes home to roost, people don't have the money to cover it. To marriage, we're not great with that either. Marriage rates have dropped over the past 10 years. People just aren't getting married as much. Divorce rates have dropped as well, so I guess that's kind of good, but marriage rates are coming down, you'd almost expect that. However, the rate does remain at nearly 50%. A lot of people have heard that. That is true. It's pretty much 50%, give or take year to year, and which demographics you're really polling in or outside the U.S. So according to that 2023 Forbes study, financial stress and money are consistently a leading cause of divorce in the U.S. You may be surprised by that, but don't be. A lot of people, 38% of divorces report financial problems as a cause for the divorce. Oops, hit the wrong thing. There we go. Oh, there it is. That was the right thing. Never mind. And, whoops, I'm hitting something. Apologies. 58% report arguing and excess conflict as a cause for divorce. But here's the funny thing. Guess what the leading cause of reported arguing conflict is? Money. People argue about money a lot. This also hits lower income marriages. They face a higher likelihood of a divorce, with rates falling by 10 to 15% as income increases. And that all holds true for couples below the poverty line, right, where divorce rates climb to nearly 50%. So most divorces are reported to have multiple factors, multiple causes, but finances and money, stress, arguments, and so on are a huge factor consistently. I'm going to switch this up. You're going to wire me up? I'm going to keep going. So clearly there's a problem with how a large portion of our society handles money and thinks about money. And I'd hazard a guess that there's little doubt among us here that there's a problem with our society and marriage, right? And the impact of money on those marriages is not insignificant, as those statistics clearly bear out. Yeah, no problem. But what about us? We should be different. We're different people in the world. We're supposed to be apart from the world. Yep. Technical difficulties. Here we go, switching over. See if this works. So yeah, we should be different, apart from the world. Romans chapter 12, verse 2. Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind, that by testing you may discern what is the will of God and what is good and acceptable and perfect. In Matthew 5, verse 14 through 16, we know that we're a light of the world. I'm not going to be able to go through every passage today because, like Evan said, it does feel like I have 2 hours of things to go through, and I'm going to try to get through it quick. But we know that we're supposed to be an example. That's not for us. Those problems that are tearing other marriages apart, how can we prevent those things from affecting us as Christians? We don't want to have those things become stumbling blocks for us as we're attempting to be lights to the world. So what can we learn from Scripture? In good counsel, like other people's experiences, older, wiser people, that can help prevent us from letting money become stumbling blocks in our marriages. And if you're younger, this goes for generally over here, you all as well, and anyone else scattered around here. Or if you're just unmarried, this is for you too. One day, Lord willing, you'll be married. Prepare yourself accordingly so that it doesn't become a problem for you guys once you get married. So let's start off saying, well, why is money a common cause of marital stress? Right? It's kind of obvious, but any two people on earth are going to have competing wants, preferences, and desires. If I took any two people here and I stuck you together and I said, okay, from now on, for the rest of your lives, you're going to be financially bound to one another, and you're going to have to work together to pay bills, you're going to have to work together to save, you're going to have to work together to handle emergencies, to purchase things, to give, to all those kind of things. You can see how immediately people would be like, whoa, no, I don't want that. This is going to be difficult. I can't make that work, right? And a marriage is no exception, right? We have a limited amount of time. We have a limited amount of money. We have nearly infinite combinations of competing interests and wants among any pair of people. She wants this, he wants that, she likes this, he likes that, and so on. It's obvious, right? And another obvious statement, but we need to let this sink in, men and women are different, right? It sounds obvious, but we don't let this sink in a lot. We forget when we're dealing with money, right? It seems obvious, but the differences can have a significant effect on money and stewardship, right? We have different priorities, generally speaking. And I'm going to use a lot of generalities in the rest of this presentation. If you're someone who's like, well, I'm different, or I know someone who's different, I understand. The point is, I'm speaking broad strokes to establish some points here. So generally speaking, men and women are different. We have different priorities, right? Men are oftentimes look to try to achieve things with their money. What can I do? What can I save up? What kind of thing can I build in order to either impress people or to leave a legacy? Things like that. Like, we're looking to do things kind of sophisticated with money. Women largely are looking for safety. They want good savings. They want to know they're secure. We may be a little bit more risk takers than women. Things like that. Men develop a lot of their self-worth and stuff in their accomplishments. Again, what have I done? I've achieved this thing. I've got my PhD. I've got this big house. I've got this good career. I've got whatever it is. That means a lot to men for some reason. It's a pride thing. Look at what I've built. Look at what I've done. A lot of women they can get their self-worth out of the quality and quantity of relationships that they build, and the things that they've done for other people, these kinds of things. They're social more than men tend to be individualistic and want to achieve by themselves, right? As Cheryl said when I was kind of running this by her, she mentioned, and I think this is a good point, men tend to lead with their heads, women tend to lead with their hearts. There's differences there. And man, there's even differences in the way we shop. And you know this, right? If you're married, and your wife says, hey, go pick up black beans or something at Walmart, We say, okay, so we go to the table, the kitchen table, we just swipe everything off, right? We put down the schematic blueprint of Walmart. We find the quickest route to get to the black beans. We drive there. We go in, we get the black beans, we hit the first register we can, we're out. We want nothing to do with it. Get in, get out, done. Brought home the kill, the black beans, proud husband. Hopefully happy wife. Women can make like an extended weekend out of it. And they'll go and they'll shop and they'll try to find deals and they'll explore. They'll look through the clothes, they'll try on some shoes, they'll try on 80 different pieces of clothing and not buy any of them, or maybe one or two, I don't know. They do that thing where they feel the fabric. You're walking by, just feel the shirt as you walk by it. And none of these things are good or bad. It's just that there's differences, and that's okay, right? But remember that. Keep that in mind, right? We're not the same, but we're now together, right? They're just differences. Well, we need to make sure that we don't allow those differences to lead to financial problems, right? So we have different kinds of people, men and women, just different people in general, since we're different individuals. Something changes when we get married, right? We become one. We all know this. Underhand, we get this, right? Genesis 2:24, therefore a man shall leave his father and mother and hold fast to his wife, and they shall become one flesh. We know this physical oneness. There's a change in your familial situation. You're leaving your parents, your old household, you're establishing your own. Now you're a couple. Okay, but there's more than just physical oneness going on here. And that's what I want to try to drill in right now with this particular segment. What can that mean when it comes to money and possessions? Ephesians chapter 5:25 to 33. Again, I'm not going to read it all for sake of time. But look at this. Men are to husbands to love their wives as their own bodies, that they love themselves. You love your wife, or you love his wife as himself. I can't say that. So there's something deeper here, a deeper oneness. We're no longer considering each other as two individuals, but as a unit. There's less of you and me and more of us. Sometimes you're going to have you and me, I understand that. But again, it goes deeper than that. We're now one. We're one couple, if that makes sense. As someone put it, and you might have heard this before, I really like this. It's not a joint venture. This is a marriage. You're not running a business together. You're married, you're one. It's deeper than just that. All right, so here we are. We're two different kinds of people with varying proclivities, potentially misaligned goals initially, different wants, different financial histories and habits, and we're suddenly wrapped together into this one relationship made one by God, right? And we're no longer separate. So it's not very hard to see why conflict can arise, right? But see, God didn't just leave it at that. And this is important to touch on too. Within a marriage, God has set up a structure of authority that we should keep in mind. Again, the husband was made the head of the wife and the head of the household. Ephesians chapter 5, backing up a couple verses from where we were a minute ago. And I'm not going to read all of this, but women submitting to their husbands, husbands being the head, and women submitting in all things to their husbands. So a couple things it's important to consider when it comes to money. If you're a woman, whether or not wives have, the authority to make important financial decisions and stuff without their discussing with their husbands, but that's not really what I want to get into at the moment, because as a husband, I find that this next thing is a little more tempting in trying to take all that upon myself. Well, I'm the head. I'm gonna run this ship, and I'm gonna make these decisions for us. So should husbands, like I just said, do we want to just run all those things without, without enough regard for our wives' input, knowledge, wisdom, those sorts of things? Let's look at the godly woman. Huge passage again. Don't try to read it. I think most of you know it. If you can't read it, it's small. I wanted to squeeze it all into one slide for a reason. Because having read through this, I think most of us, I hope, if not, please read it. It's an excellent passage. It's what all women should be striving for. Men, young men, if you're not married yet, find a woman like this if you can. It'll be a blessing beyond your wildest imagination. But look at all the times that a woman, the godly woman here, demonstrates some kind of skill or talent in household, like economic work, right, or decision making, and I'm going to highlight them. Those. I think that's the majority of it. So, hardworking, finding an abundance of food for our family, considering purchasing property, buying property, producing and selling merchandise, meeting the needs of our household to where she's not worried about, hey, I'm not worried when winter of snow. I'm not afraid of snow, for my household is clothed in scarlet, right? She looks well to the ways of her household and does not eat the bread of idleness. She's hardworking, intelligent, producing things, selling things. There's a lot of financial things or economic kind of habits and talents that this woman possesses. Of course, everyone's different, and not everyone has all these talents, but even if you have a few, that's the point. There's something there that would be lacking in a marriage if the husband decided, I'm going to disregard this, I'm going to do this myself. You're going to be missing out. There's a whole other side you're just disregarding because you have that authority. You know, you want to rule as a tyrant in that case, it would be foolish, wouldn't it? And it's not highlighted yet, but you may have thought of this. There's a passage in there, a verse that mentions the husband, right? His heart trusts in her, and he will have no lack of gain. Again, I think everyone's different, I understand that, but I think this helps to demonstrate the importance of both the husband and the wife in their work, financial and otherwise, in the household, right? An excellent wife who can find, she is far more precious than jewels. Amen. Working together is absolutely key. That's, again, a lot of these points are going to sound very obvious, but we don't put them into practice enough, and we forget. Working together is key. Have you ever been to a field day or a track event or something like that and seen one of these three-legged races, right? You get two people that they're standing side by side, they have their ankles tied together, right? Now they have to run a race. And you can imagine what happens, right? The fun part is most people can't do it well. That's why it's fun. You get to watch people fall down. So what happens when most people try to do this is, like, if they're not working together, they can't get anywhere. They fall down, they collapse, they can't move forward quick enough, right? When they do fall down, it's hard for them to get back up because they're tied to one another and they're not working together. They're stuck. Right? When you have a pair who's really on it, and they're working together, and they're feeling it out, and they're really trying to work together to communicate, like, hey, okay, we're going to count it down. Whatever strategy it is, they're on it. They're moving. And also, importantly, they're going to the same goal. They're both heading to the same finish line. If one says, I'm going to head over to, I don't know, some other finish line over there, for whatever reason, they're not going to get anywhere. They're going to be pulling apart instead. But nope, they're focused together, they're working together, they're getting to the same place together, and they're going to win because of that cooperation. In Ecclesiastes 4, verses 9 through 10, 2 are better than 1 because they have a good reward for their toil. For if they fall, one will lift up his fellow, but woe to him who is alone when he falls and has not another to lift him up. When we work together, we have someone there to help us when we fall. This is one of the biggest blessings when it comes to marriage, I'll tell you, is having someone there to help us when we fall. And again, apply this financially, right? We make mistakes. You're not alone. Someone is there to help you along the way. Pick you back up. We'll work on this together. We're going to get back up. We're going to finish this race. Iron sharpens iron. And one man sharpens another. So not only are we getting places now that we're working together, but we're improving one another. Right? In a godly marriage, we need each other to improve. You can't sharpen iron without the other iron. That's the beauty of this passage. We all know it. We need that together. If we try to do things alone, we're not going to improve as much as we can if we're not cooperating. If we're trying to set goals and execute on goals financially alone, it's not going to work as well unless we embrace our spouse in that. In my personal case, I tend to have annoyingly expensive hobbies. And it's very frustrating, but that's just the way it is. I've never really been good at saving either. It just isn't my nature. Cheryl's much more financially conservative. She had savings when we got married. I had a ridiculous amount of student loan debt. I would get paid, and I would come home, buy a guitar, and there goes all my money. That was me. She'd save it. So she's improved me, I'd say, a lot in that sense since then, because now I'm a lot more of a saver, and I kind of enjoy it now. It's a little fun. But there's that complementary relationship there. That's what I'm talking about. Sharpening each other, working together, setting goals, gently sharpening one another as a couple. You improve individually, and you improve as a couple. This is neat. You might have seen this before. Motivational speaker, Zig Ziglar. He used to share this story about Belgian horses, right? This is cool. If you haven't seen them before, they're absolutely massive, gigantic, frightening horses. They're like a Clydesdale. I wouldn't want to be near them. I'm small, it would crush me, right? But they're so strong, right? Individually, one of these Belgian horses can pull about 7,000 pounds when it's harnessed up, which in and of itself is really impressive. 7,000 pounds. That's kind of crazy. What's really neat is if you harness two of them together and they're starting to pull on the same harness, you'd think, oh, they can pull maybe 14,000 pounds, right? No, 15,000 pounds. Okay, very impressive. So now they're outdoing their individual abilities. What's really neat is they found that if you train them to pull together, not just on the same harness, but pull together, and whatever that means for a horse, I'm not an equestrian expert, I don't know exactly what that means, but the point is, you get them to work together, to pull together, pulling like that, they can pull up to 25,000 pounds. So they are tripling, more than tripling, their individual capabilities by working together, by pulling together. Teamwork is huge. Can't be stated enough. Okay, well, you're married now, you're one, you understand that, you understand differences between one another, but disagreements are bound to happen, right? You are still two people in one couple. I know it's kind of hard to distinguish sometimes. I don't know enough English words to describe the oneness and still the individuality that exists between people, but they're going to happen, right? We're going to have these differences. And I've just got a few suggestions of how to handle things when disagreements happen. I understand that there's some discernment that needs to be made too. These are general ideas for when your normal everyday disagreements happen that can end up building up into walls between each other, because if one person wants to take all your savings and just run a roulette table or something, I understand that may be a hard no. But your normal run-of-the-mill things that tend to build up are more often the problem, believe it or not. How do we handle those disagreements? Well, number one, remember, before all things, that the person who you're disagreeing with, maybe arguing with, is someone that you love and you care about, right? This isn't just anyone off the street. This is your spouse. Keep that in mind. All right, you're not enemies. It may feel like it because you're getting really heated about some kind of disagreement of what you're going to do with some money, or you spent some money, or whatever happened to be. Okay, still, dear spouse, this isn't just anybody else. That should help with your tone of voice, and things like that, and language and temper. If you need a minute, take the break. This is general conflict resolution, but it's very important in this case as well. And number two, remember that we're not in competition with one another. That's not the point of this exercise when we're arguing over something with money. I'm not trying to win. I'm not trying to beat you and to rationalize my way through and kind of use some word kung fu to show you that I'm right and you're wrong. That's not it. The goal should be to figure out how we can best serve God and each other. That's what we're looking to do here. Not just win a fight. When we enter conflict thinking that we are in competition, we are going to win, that's how we start to divide. Because now we're not thinking of the other person as one anymore. Suddenly they're them again, and they're not part of us. This happens a lot when it comes to money. People fight about those things. They can't control that. Facts do matter, but so do the other person's feelings. Don't forget that either. As men, this may be harder for us. I don't know. Again, there's leading with your head and such. It could be harder to not to just think, well, the only thing that matters is the facts. But there's a right way and a wrong way to deliver facts, right? Proverbs 16:24, gracious words are like a honeycomb, sweetness to the soul and health to the body. Proverbs 15:1-4, a soft answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger. A gentle tongue is a tree of life, but perverseness in it breaks spirit. James 1:19, let every person be quick to hear, slow to speak, slow to anger. Remember that. If you can't figure it out by yourself, seek counsel. We are a body here. We're here for each other. We have good shepherds here who are willing to help. We have good brethren here who are willing to help, who might have been through similar things. This has been huge for us, and I have to say, it could be huge for anyone else who's working through problems together, right? Proverbs 11:14, where there's no guidance, a people falls, and a couple falls. But in an abundance of counselors, there's safety. We have an abundance of counselors here. This isn't even like the whole congregation. We're huge. I come from a small congregation. We have a lot of help here. Use it if you need it. Don't let walls build up over financial disagreements and money fights because you're too proud or embarrassed to seek help. It's hard to admit that something is going on with your marriage because we're putting up this facade a lot, right? But everybody has things that they're dealing with. Don't be too proud. We have good people here who can help you out. Your marriage is worth the effort. All right, good. I've got hopefully just enough time to go through these. Here's some tips. It says Buddy's opinion time, because some of these are just my opinion. They're things that I found that have worked. Some people kind of recoil at a couple of these. Again, from experience, not just from my head and how I want to be sophisticated with my money, this stuff has worked. But disregard certain things if you just can't stand it. Number one, people don't like this one a lot, but combine all their money as much as possible. And I say possible because I get it, that there's reasons sometimes to have multiple accounts and things to divide money logically and stuff, savings accounts, check-ins accounts, business accounts, whatever they are, that's fine. But what's the key? No secret accounts, right? And no accounts that only one person can access. Again, notwithstanding gambling issues or something else like that. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about what tends to build up and separate people who don't have those other problems over time, right? They can't seem to get their stuff together because, and maybe this is harder for people who got married later in life. I was 20, so I didn't have much to combine. In fact, I was negative. It was an up for me, right? But the thing is, this is so important because remember, you're not a joint venture. This is one now, right? We need access because of what? Secrets. Don't have secrets. Financial secrets and dishonesty can do tremendous damage to a marriage. It can cause trust issues, right? Feelings of what's been called financial infidelity. He did this thing without letting me know. How could I have not known? How could he have done this, right? Or she and so on. It could take years to mend. Tremendous damage. Don't go there. Combine things. Make financial goals and execute them together. This is another huge one. Makes a huge difference in your marriage. Tackling goals together is a really good way to get closer. If you're feeling distant for some reason, and there's some savings goal you have or giving goal, there's plenty to give to right now we've been made aware of throughout the world that we can help with, or paying off some niggling debt. Set it, no matter how small it is, and execute on it together. Get there together, because what happens is, it's a demonstration that you can work together and you can win. Right? We've done it. We've done this thing. We've hit this goal. Why do you think that so many corporate environments have team building exercises? Because now you're working together as a team toward the goal, and you get closer. You get to work better. And the more you do it, the better you get at it. It's so important. And what's cool is that you feel, hey, if we can accomplish these small financial things, what else can we accomplish? Right? We're going to raise kids the right way. We're going to do these hard things. We're going to, whatever it is, move across the country. We're going to, what if someone gets sick? What if a parent dies? What if a parent has fallen ill and now you need to bring them into your household and figure out how that's going to work so we can take care of them? These are complications that are almost certainly some variety of this is going to happen in your lifetimes together. If you set little financial goals together and you're working that together, it'll make the other things easier because you know you can win. Try to be willing to compromise to the other person from time to time when it's possible. Again, when it's possible. And even if you don't understand why something might be important to the other person, this is a big problem with me. I guess I was opinionated and stubborn, and some things just didn't make sense, right? This isn't what it was. But let's say that your spouse is, for some reason, really loves collecting little, like, novelty spoons or something. It's like, okay, I want to get another novelty spoon when we're out here, but it's going to be like $45 because it's all silver. I don't know. Totally random example. Cheryl's not into novelty spoons. But you understand my point, right? I don't get it. But is it going to destroy our finances at that moment? No. Sometimes it's worth giving in. Consider their desires too. It's important to them. That's all that matters, right? Again, with all the normal caveats in place for drugs and other things like that. That's not what I'm talking about. Again, these things, they seem silly, but they can build up. And that's the danger. Over time, little things, and you're just kind of harassing and making it seem like the other person's wants and desires are kind of trivial and don't make sense and beneath you, can lead to big problems. Do nothing from selfish ambition or conceit, but in humility count others more significant than yourselves. Communicate, 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 and communicate. Huge. Again, the more the better. A lack of communication. We know this. A lack of communication in open discussion, right, about financial goals, things like that can lead to secrecy, which is what we were talking about earlier. When you have secrets, now you're acting individually, not as a couple. Apathy and a loosening of those bonds, where you're not working together anymore because you're not communicating. You're not running that three-legged race together anymore because you're not communicating. You're not pulling together anymore because you're not communicating. Talk about things, changes in your budgets, changes the things that your new goals that we're going to try to achieve, right? Changes in a job situation potentially. Be open about it. Discuss it, right? You don't want to become afraid to talk to the person because that's when walls build up. And when walls build up, people grow apart. We don't want that happening due to money. This is another one that is important, but sometimes people don't like, but participation by both members of a couple, both spouses, is so important. Both people have to be participating. One person might be better at preparing budgets, crunching numbers, and stuff like that. That's totally cool. You do all the work in that sense. But financial decisions, plans, those sorts of things should be made by both people, right? That, again, prevents this separation. We're together in this. We're one. We're going to do this together. Right? Household finances can become very complicated after a while. Right? It's a big burden to place just upon one person. So don't do that. Trying to pass on involvement because, oh, he likes to do this by himself or she likes this or something is just asking for disaster and money fights in the future. Right? It's going to come to an inevitable bumping of heads because we haven't communicated something. Right? It's almost a form of abandonment. So don't financially abandon your spouse. And this also goes conversely, by the way. Don't think that you can do it all yourself. It's like, oh, I got this, right? You need your spouse's input to be more effective, as you learned with the working together, sharpening iron, those sorts of things. Gotta get time. Finally, remember that we're stewards. Right? Keep in mind who everything actually belongs to and what we're meant to do with his things. And we're being rewarded for our work. We might have inherited money, whatever we have. it's very easy, very easy to think of those things as, oh, this is mine. I've worked for this. We've built this up. We're going to glorify ourselves in this. No, that's what this whole series is about. Wise stewards, right? When we're working together, who are we looking to glorify? Psalm 24, verse 1, the earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof. We've already gone through this, but it's an important reminder. Everything, including what you have, is His, God's. And I think this passage was read on Sunday. But who? This is God speaking, Job 41, verse 11. Who has first given to me that I should repay him? Whatever is under the whole heaven is mine. Keep that in mind while we're working through things and while we're living together as a couple. What are we looking to do ultimately with our money? Be better, like more hospitable, giving more of ourselves, looking for what we can do for other people, or are we looking to lift ourselves up? Right? We've been given financial tools by God, not just for ourselves, ultimately for Him. That should be our goal. Ultimately, in all these things, how can we best glorify Him? Not how can we build ourselves up and get a fifth boat and sail to Italy or something someday, which might be fun. But so much more could be done to glorify God instead of ourselves in that. So, sum it all up. Let's say you practice all these things. You're working together, you're truly working as one now. You're not selfishly pursuing your own wants in your marriage. You're not hiding things. You're communicating. You're understanding one another because we realize we're different now and we're really jiving. We understand our differences. We can work together around those things. We're being involved. Right? Does that guarantee now? Great. Check. Does that guarantee that, hey, we're going to be like financially well off now? We're going to be rich? Or we're not going to have any other money stress ever again because, man, we're nailing it in all these things? No, of course not. That's not the point, though, right? The point is we're trying to avoid the very types of things that I mentioned at the beginning of the lesson. We don't want to become one of those statistics. Almost half is a huge chunk. I don't want to have to divide this room. Say, 1/2 of the marriages fell apart. That would be sad, especially due to the most common factor, finances and money. We want to avoid those things. That's what we're looking to do by putting these things into practice. And most importantly, if we do those things, we're going to be much more effective workers for God. At this point, now we're two people who are working as one, who are really on fire with what we have for God, for His glory. Think of what you can do in that case, as opposed to if you're stumbling. The amount of benefit you can do for Him and His kingdom is hard to describe. And we'll be better stewards of what He's entrusted us with. I got about 2 minutes. Awesome. Thank you so much for your attention this evening. I really appreciate the opportunity to speak. I hope that some of that was encouraging to you all and that we can become better stewards and we can work together. If you have any questions about any of these things or just want to pick my brain about this stuff, again, it's something I'm very passionate about, but I do appreciate it. Thank you very much.